This video is going to be my reaction to the Lions' 31-23 win over the Bucs in the NFC divisional round, catapulting them into NFC Championship game against the San Francisco 49ers on the road next week. It's the Lions' 14th win of the season. When you look at the record, you're talking about a team that's almost won 75% of its football games. I think that's quite remarkable, and something that maybe we don't focus on enough is that at this point the Lions have played 19 football games and won 14 of them. Amazing game today, I thought, from both teams. Momentum switched sides, it seemed like so many times from team to team, but also in terms of gameplay. The defenses were extremely impressive and in control in the first half on both sides. And then even early in the third quarter. And then something switched for both offenses. First, from a Lions perspective, they scored on 3 consecutive possessions, the third of which is the touchdown pass to St. Brown in the right corner of the end zone on a short wheel for a 31-17 lead. 6:20 or 6:22 left in the game. Simplistically, I think the Lions went to more under center stuff. In my opinion, in the first half, maybe a little bit too pass heavy from the shotgun. Not enough conflict created for the Bucs defense. Somewhat similar to some analysis I said about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens offense in the first half last night. Stationary target for the Bucs. Not that they got to Jared Goff a whole lot. I think they only had 2 sacks on the day. But I felt like there wasn't enough conflict created horizontally for the Bucs defense in terms of a run play to one side and a boot to the other. Once they went under center, I believe on the 8th possession, almost exclusively, and I'll show you that possession breakdown in a moment, things definitely changed. I know at the moment that St. Brown scores to make it 31-17, a little over 6 minutes left in the game, like I said, I know the stadium had to be unbelievably loud, but nothing compared to what it was probably like 5 minutes of gameplay later when Derek Barnes makes that leaping, incredibly well-timed interception after the Bucs go hurry up on a 2nd and 5. I think Detroit brought a nickel edge blitz, but I believe there's 2 blitzers, like one of those delayed type blitzes where one player, typically inside linebacker, goes first and then a safety goes second. But I haven't seen a replay other than what they showed on the broadcast. To me, that's one of the patented blitzes that Aaron Glenn is using at times to create pressure, but in a somewhat safe manner. Barnes, I thought, was tracking Mayfield's eyes on the tight end, making an in cut. And look, there is a lot of space between Barnes and the next defender to the field, to Barnes' right, Baker Mayfield's left, the offense's left. But that leaping interception was it was amazing. It was amazing play by Barnes. I think it's his first career interception. He's a hybrid player who's played some inside linebacker, some outside linebacker. You actually saw him lined up on the edge, if you will, earlier in the game. He's a versatile football player. I think it illustrates that Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn are going to bring different types of pressure in big moments. And in this case, I thought it was a layered blitz, but we'll find out, when all 22 comes out or if I watch a replay later. There's about 140 left, something like that. The Bucs defense has just got to stop against the Lions. Lions unable to close the game out. And I really thought this game was over when the Lions got the football back with a 31-23 lead. I thought the game was over. I thought they were going to be able to close it out because they had been on a roll, scored on 3 straight possessions. And credit to the Bucs, they're able to get a stop. I have no idea, as an aside, why the Bucs are going for 2 after scoring the touchdown. Well, let me rephrase that. It's questionable to me, depending on the rationale behind it for the Bucs. If you want to focus on analytics, which is what Chris Collinsworth talked about, of course he's not a part of the coaching staff, so he has no clue what their decision making was. But he did cite statistics, or he tried to at least. If you want to focus on analytics, where it's based upon thousands of other games that have been played and some other data included, I don't really get it. This game happens one time. That decision, I thought, it was about 4 minutes and 30 seconds left in the game after the touchdown to Evans. A lot can happen at 31-24. The Lions could fumble the kickoff. A quarterback could throw an interception. You could convert a two-pointer to tie after you missed the first one. But instead of 2 sure kick extra points to force overtime, I don't get it. Now, having said that, if the Bucs made that decision because their defense was getting shredded to that point, then I get it, if that is the decision. That's not what Collinsworth talked about. Again, he's independent of the coaching staff, obviously, like myself included, and you are too. But that decision is made based on data and patterns from this game only. if that's why the Bucs decided to go for two, not theoretical situations, quote analytics or whatever. But look, the Lions in any case wasted the opportunity to close the game, and then on that 2nd and 5, minute 30 left or so, Barnes on the interception, amazing moment for him, for the team, the coaching staff, the fan base, and the Lions defense specifically. A brilliant play by an individual, but I think it gives you a sense, a real talking point about what the team is all about. Craig Reynolds scored on a 4th and goal from the 1 in the 3rd quarter to put the team up 17-10. Why is he in the game instead of David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs? I don't know. It worked out. Derek Barnes made a play to seal the game. Ifeatu Melifonwu had another sack and a half. Now, don't get me wrong. There's stars who make plays too. Aiden Hutchinson had a sack. Sam Laporta had 9 catches. I think St. Brown had 8 or 9. It's actually on the screen right there. Brian Branch had 9 tackles. Unheralded guys make plays for this team in big moments at times, and that's the mark of a winner. That's the mark of a winning football team, if you ask me. Got to say good things about Baker Mayfield before we get to the Lions offense, which really hit probably 4th gear, maybe almost 5th gear in that 3rd quarter. Mayfield was 26 of 41 passing for 349, a number of big throws. That 4th and 14 conversion to Evans. I mean, look, Evans is wide open. It's a very poor coverage choice by Aaron Glenn and the Lions, if you ask me. Talking about midway through the after falling behind 31-17. It's a tough play by Mayfield. Got to give him credit. He made some tough throws in some big situations. Remember the one play he bounced off of a blitzer and was able to complete a pass to the wide receiver, I think Moore, along the right sideline. More on the Lions' coverages later. Them getting exploited, I thought, 3 times today in cover 0, where they're putting guys in situations to cover that they're just not capable of covering and getting beat consistently, in my opinion. So Goff, he hit on a number of short passes in the first half, but only had 99 yards passing on 22 attempts after 30 minutes. And then he just lit the Bucs up thereafter. If you look at his numbers for the day, it's very interesting compared to his numbers from week 6. Today, 30 of 43 passing, now only 287 yards, no turnovers, and 2 touchdowns. Week 6, 30 of 44 passing for 343 yards, so the yards are clearly higher. 2 touchdowns and no turnovers, to my knowledge. I did think the Bucs played a lot more zone today, and you can't blame them after giving up 343 passing yards in Week 6, where multiple guys made plays in the pass game, and Laporta was suppressed. I think he had 5 catches on like 9 or 10 or 11 targets. It certainly worked for Tampa Bay today early on. The Lions had no real rhythm in the first half. No run game established at all, to my knowledge. I think the first 8 carries generated 22 yards for Detroit today, very similar to Week 6. All they had available to them early was short, underneath passes by Goff. But it took 22 pass attempts for him to get that 99 yards at the half. The run game had done nothing. I thought the play calling, was too overly focused on passing concepts, especially out of the shotgun. Through 30 minutes, 10-10 ball game, tied. The Lions were averaging 3.8 yards per play. They generated 134 yards of offense. Overall, the run game, the direct flow stuff that normally goes for 4 or 5 yards, whether it's inside zone, outside zone, F count, or whatever, that was not working. It just was not. The 2 inside linebackers for the Bucs were there at all times. Levante David played another brilliant game, 13 tackles, 1 sack. And I think it's Sills, I'll see his name here in a moment when the stats come up, had 12 tackles. The one run that seemed to be dangerous was Gibbs on the tackle pull out in space. Collinsworth covered that extremely well. At the half, Laporta had 5 catches for 46 yards on 6 targets. St. Brown, extremely quiet, 3 catches for 18 yards. And kind of scary or ominous, I guess, late in the second quarter, the Bucs seized the initiative. You had 3 big pass plays, and then the huge run by Mayfield in the late second quarter, eventually able to tie the game at 10. And they're getting the ball back to start the third quarter with what at that time looked like clear matchup advantages against Detroit's secondary. I don't know about you. I felt like the announcers were just slobbering all over the Bucs at the half. Just they sounded almost giddy that it looked like at that time Tampa Bay was going to go in there and have a great opportunity to get a win. Of course, I understand why people would think that, because at the half, the Lions had given up 233 yards overall to the Bucs, and including 69 rushing yards. So it looked like it was going to be difficult to pull it off, especially with Detroit's final 2 drives of the second quarter. They have a 10-3 lead and get the ball twice in the second quarter and are unable to do anything out of it. They were able to get 2 first downs, but gave the Bucs a chance to tie the game, which they did. I thought my notes at the half said, I think Ben Johnson has his hands full trying to get this one to 24 points in order to win. Well, I was wrong. They got to 31. To me, it looked like unwillingness or almost ceding ground in terms of the run game in the first half. Now, I've seen game plans like this before. I'm going to cite one to you that's going to be possibly outside the box. When the Ravens went down to Tampa Bay and played the Bucs last year in the regular season, we threw the ball 25 times in the first half. And a lot of it was out of our base personnel, which is the same thing the Lions did today. They went a lot of 12 personnel in the first half, kept the Bucs base defense on the field, and threw the football. Like I said, 22 attempts in the first half. And then in that game, the aforementioned regular season game where the Ravens went down to Tampa Bay and got a win last year, they ran the football a ton in the second half. Lions did the same thing today. It's a very interesting dynamic that I noticed during the game. Perhaps they were trying to get the Bucs tired. I don't know how to explain that or justify it. That certainly seemed to be the dynamic today, because the Lions totally shredded them in the second half. Whatever the adjustments were, what I thought I saw was they went away from the shotgun heavy passing attack that was not working in terms of generating big plays. Additionally, the Lions defense got a stop to open the third quarter. Aiden Hutchinson was free off the right side, unblocked, a sack on a 3rd and 4. There was also a tackle for loss by Branch on that possession, and Kirby Joseph with a nice pass deflected to challenge the tight end Cade Otton, who had a nice day. So Lions were able to get a stop there and then get the football back. They were actually able to get 2 stops, to open the third quarter. In their first possession, they did nothing with, which was their 7th. To that point, Detroit we're talking about 8th possession here, which I'm going to fire up now. To this point, tied at 10, working into the Lions' 8th possession. They had 6 possessions. I'm not counting the kneel down to end the second quarter, but technically, officially, it does count. And they'd only generated 10 points and 134 yards of offense. So, like I said, officially they'll call this their 8th possession. And you can see from the notes, formation, the 4th column from the left for you guys. Under center on the first 4 plays of the possession, and damn near every single play. And then the decision to run the football on 4th and goal from the 1 with Craig Reynolds. The only thing I can speculate on, first of all, 4 consecutive plays under center, like I said, to begin the possession, and a whole bunch more runs. Now, were the runs generating huge plays? Not necessarily, but you did have an 8-yard run by Gibbs here, and then a couple of short runs by Montgomery, capped with the 1-yard touchdown run by Reynolds to make it 17-10. I suspect that maybe the Bucs were doing different things depending on which running back was in the game. Montgomery versus Gibbs. I don't know what those things were, and I'm just throwing something out there. I wonder if the reason why Reynolds got in was because they would presume that the Bucs were expecting play action pass. And in this case, it was direct flow run right downhill, right at you, and he gets in pretty easily for a 1-yard touchdown run. I thought it was pretty cool. I wasn't surprised that Dan Campbell went for it and Ben Johnson went for it on that 4th and goal from the 1. I'm sure you weren't either. I really didn't have a problem with it. In the past, I've been very critical of John Harbaugh for the Ravens going for it on 4th down, but some of those situations are like 4th and 3, and we're already leading. In this case, it was 10-10, and I thought Campbell made the right decision to go for it here. Clearly, the result, kind of justifies that. The 9th possession for the Lions is after the Bucs go down and tie it 17-17. And now this one I thought really kind of showcased Gibbs. I believe Gibbs had 3 carries for 44 yards on this drive, including 1 catch for 12 yards. They did take a 24-17 lead, 31-yard touchdown run by Gibbs. thought it was going to the left initially, like following the fullback, and then he hits it downhill because there's a lane there. That was a great job by the backside right guard or maybe the center. And then once he encounters a safety at like maybe 8-10 yards down the field, he jukes him out to the left, basically outruns him. Huge lane there. But again, notice the formations under center. Whether it's 11 personnel, 12 personnel, a lot more under center. And then all of a sudden he'll go empty the third play of the drive here. So my point is there wasn't this over-reliance on shotgun stuff where Goff is this stationary target and where the run game doesn't create either horizontal conflict or vertical, conflict for the inside linebackers from the standpoint of they're coming forward at angles, and then Goff keeps the ball because it's play action. This one puts him up 24-17. I have to give credit to Ben Johnson here, who I thought, again, the game plan looked suspicious or interesting to me in the first half, and very similar to that Ravens-Bucs game from last year, but in this situation in the third quarter, Ben Johnson was rolling. Mixing up that under center and shotgun run game. Now, the sandwich between these two drives, sandwich between the 8th and 9th drive, was the Bucs touchdown that tied it at 17, and I have to talk about that a little bit. It was tough to watch the ending of it. It's the 3rd and 10 from the 12-yard line, screen pass to Rachaad White for a touchdown. It looks like an all-out blitz to me by the Lions, and it seemed very oblivious. I mean, I understand you want to get pressure, and I understand that you're being successful bringing nickel blitzes and safety blitzes, and I think that has really turned around Detroit's defense, really in the last 6-8 weeks. Having said that, it's 17-10. If you get a stop on 3rd and 10, if you create a 4th and 2, maybe the Bucs go for it, right? Maybe they don't. If you hold them to a field goal, it seems to me like being up 17-13 at that point is advantageous for you. At home, getting the ball back after you've just scored. Again, the situation is Lions up 17-10. Bucs facing a 3rd and 10 from the 12. All-out blitz, and Rachaad White just walks into the end zone. There's no one there. It's just an easy screen. It was maddening to me because of the over-aggression, in my opinion. Now, when you combine that with the 4th and 14 later, I do think there's a problem. I do think there's a problem on your hands, rooting for this Lions defense on critical or big situations where it's 3rd and long. What kind of decision-making is there to justify that? I don't know. Maybe you have a different opinion than I do. And look, it didn't end up mattering because, like we talked about, the Lions answered that touchdown from 17-17 with this one to make it 24-17. And then they got another stop, kind of conventional, didn't have to bring as much pressure. And Ben Johnson sends out Jared Goff, and those guys roll right downfield again with, again, a lot of under center stuff early in the possession. Now, if you look at the formations, this is the 10th possession that puts them up 31-17, culminating with St. Brown's a touchdown catch with 6:22 left. If you look at the formations that I create for you, anything that says A or B is shotgun. If you go to the NFL's website, it's just going to say shotgun because they're not going to give you formation descriptions because there's so many different languages, so much different terminology. This is mine, or the one that I was taught. So UC is under center. A, B is shotgun. What I think I see is early in possessions, the last two, they're under center a lot. And then as the possession develops, he puts Goff in the shotgun more. Now, granted, on the 3rd and 15, which I think is the 6th play down for you guys, 3rd and 15 from the negative 43-yard line, it's after Goff got sacked by Levante David and Cansey. Hopefully I'm saying his name right. Hell of a player, great young player. That 3rd and 15 to throw to St. Brown, that was amazing. I know it was against Zion McCollum, who was, taken out as a starter earlier in the year, I guess. He's a talented young dude, very physically gifted. I remember he came out from the draft last year. But St. Brown beats him on a comeback pretty cleanly. I think he gets 16, 17 yards, basically powers through contact after coming back for the football. I think he caught it at like 13 yards depth, maybe 14, and then drug McCollum forward, and maybe there was another defender there. I thought that was an amazing moment and illustrative of how well Goff threw the football when he had time, when he had a clean throwing platform. Some of my gains are not over there to the right, so forgive me for that. But it seemed like the Lions' pace was a little quicker, I thought, today, overall. And I think this possession, I might be misremembering, I think this possession was one where the pace was fast enough such that I'm getting the data typed out, and I can't really get the gain because they're already kind of lining up. So I've got to get, 1st and 10 after the 3rd and 15 completion to St. Brown, for example, the next line down, the next row down, if you will. 1st and 10, 40, 11, tray right B, and by that time, they're almost running the next play. It seemed like a quicker pace to me, and maybe I'm wrong. I also thought that on this drive, the wheel to St. Brown, to me, it looked like it was going to be a pick or a rub, but I didn't think I saw one. I thought the outside receiver just ran his route. But beautiful stuff, if you ask me. Beautiful throw by Goff. And he had missed that little short fade earlier to St. Brown. I think it was against 24. It was a really good corner. Again, the Ravens faced the Bucs last year. So, and the Lions faced them this year in week 6. So I've seen these guys 3 times now in terms of regular season. So I know the talent level that they've got on defense. So at this point, 31-17, I don't know about you. I'm not going to say the game is over, but it certainly was a big moment where you felt like so many guys contributed on this 10th possession that the Lions offense have been unlocked. And what I mean is scored 3 straight times. And look at the guys who made catches on this drive. Montgomery for 11. Jameson Williams for 24, left sideline. Got a lot of cushion by Zion McCollum. Then the 16-yarder to St. Brown. 17-yarder to St. Brown, excuse me. Gibbs jukes the inside linebacker on a route versus man. I don't think it was David. I think it was the other inside linebacker. Again, I forget his name. 52, really talented guy. 20 yards. All the guys there making plays. Laporta for 7, and then St. Brown. You got 6 different receivers, I believe. Maybe it's 5 that have been hit on this drive. I thought, well, this is over because the Lions' offense is unlocked, and if they need another score, they can get it. But 6:22 left in the game, you don't really need a score. I'm going to cycle back through the game stats here, and then we're going to talk about this drive where you end up with the 4th and 14. The Bucs are able to go down and score. They face the 3rd and 10, and then bring pressure with Reeves, Maben, and Melifonwu. 5-man blitz, though. Okay, so you're probably talking man-free or a zone blitz, meaning there's 3 deep, 3 under in a zone configuration. You're still matching routes underneath, trying not to give up open space. Creates a 4th and 14. I don't get it. 14. Up 14 points, time on your side. Look, if you play some other type of coverage, which is what I'm advocating for, and the Bucs do convert, let's say they get a 16-yard gain, 17-yard gain. I guess I'm going analytics here, right? Actually, I think this is just game awareness. They gain 15, 16, or 17 yards. The clock keeps running, first of all, and you're not opening yourself up to the possibility of a huge gain or a touchdown. Now, in this case, Mike Evans pops it for 24 yards because you played cover 0 and you brought 6. I thought it was pointless. I thought it was pointless and overly aggressive. You don't need a sack. You don't need a quarterback pressure. You don't even have to have an incomplete pass. All you have to have is something shorter than a 14-yard gain. And they didn't get it. I think they opened themselves up to it, very similar to what they did earlier on in the game when I mentioned the screen pass to White for a touchdown. In any case, Mayfield follows up with completions of 11, then 17 to Godwin, who I thought was very quiet on the day. He gets Evans for a 16-yard touchdown. And the 2-point conversion pass, we'll talk about that for a moment. The decision to go for it, if the decision was made because recognition from the Bucs staff on the Lions offense shredding them, okay, get it. But in terms of the throw and some people advocating for a pass interference call, there's no way that any quarterback offense should be rewarded for a severely underthrown pass. I thought the ref in the booth, whoever it was, part of the announcing crew, I guess, thought he explained it well. It's a great job by Melifonwu on the challenge, and Evans had no chance to catch it because of the throw by Mayfield, not because of Melifonwu actually competing to stop him from doing so. Whether it's an intentional underthrow or not, I don't know, but I don't think that things like that, the defender should be expected to not compete such that an underthrown ball allows the receiver to gain a free or cheap pass interference call, which is what that would have been. Now, in terms of the finish, the interception by Barnes, you'll have to educate me on what's a bigger interception in the team's recent memory. Now, I'm not talking about this run from 2022 and 2023. Perhaps you don't, but I will. I will reference this run as a 2-year run. Even though the Lions didn't make the playoffs last year. If they had, they would have been a dangerous team to deal with. I can't think of any bigger moments, but while I am old, my football memory really only goes back to like the early 90s in terms of the NFL. I do want to say that it's notable for Ben Johnson's offense, the strategy that they employed, again, throwing the ball a lot out of shotgun in the first half and then under center run stuff being at least utilized, or the threat of the run in the third and fourth quarter. While they were held down in the first half, Detroit finished with 391 total yards. Gibbs, 9 carries for 74. That sick touchdown run from 31 yards out. St. Brown, 8 catches for 77. Laporta was really impactful early on and especially over the middle. Finished with 9 catches, 65 yards on 11 targets. Very different from the Week 6 game where the Bucs played so much man and Levante David did a nice job on him. I thought I saw a whole lot of zone from Tampa Bay today. I thought Laporta looked more loose and athletic and agile today compared to last week against the Rams. I think Laporta could be a huge factor against the 49ers. You may not be forward-thinking yet. I understand if you're a Lions fan, if you're still savoring this win. But I think Laporta can be a big factor next week. If he's completely healthy, if you get, or close to it, if you get the Sam Laporta that we have seen dominate football games this year, and the St. Brown that you see pretty much every week. He did have one drop today that was weird. Unusual, excuse me. And the offensive line is healthy, which I know Ragnow willed his way to the finish, and Jackson, clearly was unable to continue. So there's some big ifs there. But if Laporta's close to healthy, and the offensive line is healthy or close enough to it, I think you can go in there and beat San Francisco, and I'm not scared to say that at all. Talking about the other guys who are playing extremely well on a weekly basis, Branch and Melifonwu, they led the team with 9 tackles each. I thought Branch was a force multiplier against the run. From the inside alignment as the nickel, the slot defender, if you will, he was able to get involved in a run game often, meaning he would see the run to him or away from him and insert inside as that 7th player in the box to limit the Bucs oftentimes to 2 or 3 or even 4-yard gains. I think it's going to be really fun to see how the Lions match up with the 49ers offense next week. The 49ers will use a lot of 21 personnel, so they'll have a fullback and a tight end on the field. I would say the Lions are going to match with their base defense, and that's where this gets interesting to me, because you're going to talk about 2 safeties and 2 corners. I would suspect that San Francisco is going to go 21 personnel or 12 personnel and try to spread things out and throw the ball a little more. So I'm interested in how often the Lions go to their nickel defense, even though the 49ers are in 21 or 12 personnel. Melifonwu at this point has 4.5 sacks on the year, including the 1.5 that he had today, along with 3 in the regular season. I have to focus on his contribution, Barnes' contribution, and Craig Reynolds, who only got 1 carry, obviously, being used in that situation. This is going to sound cliche, or some people will think it sounds fake, I know. Well, maybe not Lions fans, other teams' fans, if they're listening. In big moments, this coaching staff trusts their guys. And that's something that like a guy like John Harbaugh has been made fun of before or decried. I trust my guys. And Dan Campbell has said something very similar to that as well. And in these big moments, they do. And I think that mentality has served them well so far. Regardless of what we, myself, think about some of the defensive choices made, the high blitz pressures in long yardage situations. This is now 6 straight teams that Aaron Glenn's defense has held to 24 points or less. And that number I'm going to use for you as a setup, because I think if you can hold the 49ers somehow to 24 points or less next week, I think you got a great chance to win the football game. O-line's got to go in there and do a great job dealing with the 49ers pass rush. I believe today Detroit gave up 2 sacks. I could be wrong. Absolutely, this team can go in and beat the 49ers on the road. I know it's not in a dome, on turf, nor is it at home. But the way the Lions are playing now, holding teams to 24 points or less, if that number, and if you can even get it down to maybe 21 or 22, I think you've got a great shot to win the football game. And I'll compare it to one that, well, it seems like it wasn't that long ago, and simultaneously it seems like a long time ago. It reminds me of going to Kansas City in week 1. You held that team to 20 points and won the football game. If you can hold the 49ers to 20 points, I absolutely think the Lions can go in there and have a great chance. And I mean greater than 60% chance to go in there and get to win. Don't turn the football over. Protect Goff, which is contingent upon the offensive line being healthy. Have some type of balance in the run game, and bring a healthy Sam Laporta with you and get the typical contribution you get from Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's a fun football team for me to watch, and we're 1 game away from something really fun and unique happening. I guess 2 games away. We're 1 week away. So appreciate you guys' time, man. Let me know what you think of the video, the plays, and the possessions that I chose to focus on, and some of the analysis that I gave of the situations and decisions that each team's coaching staff made. I think Detroit showed their mettle, especially offensively, getting 3 consecutive touchdowns in the second half. Have to give credit to the defense as well for getting 3 organic stops in the second half, including the game-sealing interception by Derek Barnes. If you think other Lions fans would enjoy this reaction video to the Lions' second playoff win of 2023 or 2024 at this point, then please consider grabbing the link to this video, sharing it out on social media so other Lions fans can enjoy this content as well.